I don't think about it. I sometimes think when I was a little kid, and I used to hang out with my grandfather, who was in his 90s, and I thought, Jesus, who the hell would want to live this long?
A mansion once owned by acclaimed actor Clint Eastwood just hit the market. The Carmel by the Sea property is listed at $21 million.
Besides his brilliant directing skills and love for his community, Clint Eastwood is also a real estate mogul. At 94, the Hollywood star multiple homes that cost much more than a fortune.
According to Zillow and Redfin, the mansion is the most expensive on the market right now in Carmel.
Most of these homes are found in forests and decorated with different forms of art. But are they just fancy places set up to show off his wealth? Or do they prove his genuine love for nature and creativity? Stay till the end as we explore each of these homes, the rich cultural stories behind them, and how they reflect his deep appreciation for nature and art. The Malpaso Ranch. Clint Eastwood's journey as a real estate homeowner began on Christmas Eve in 1967. He was about 37 years old at the time, and while most others were busy wrapping presents and drinking hot cocoa, Clint was driving along the coast of California. During this drive, he saw something that forever changed the course of his life. What made this moment so important was that Clint Eastwood, at the time, was not yet popular in Hollywood. Though the role he played in the show Rawhide was quite successful, along with his other roles in spaghetti western movies, big studios didn't trust him enough to be more than a handsome cowboy with a squint. Clint wanted to show the world what he was capable of, but to do that, he needed a place to think and write, a place far from the noise of Los Angeles, and it was there he found a piece of land that caught his eye. The property was a rough, unwanted piece of land near Carmel Highlands. It was a messy area with rough hills and dirt roads, not something a person with the slightest investment skill would even think of buying. But what happened next was unbelievable. Following his gut, Clint Eastwood saw a future nobody else could see, and for that reason alone, he bought the land right there. The land was 650 acres with steep slopes and tightly packed vegetation. It was difficult to build homes there, but the natural beauty was too good for him to ignore. That day, he bought 283 acres before expanding it later on. He wanted to shoot most of his future movies there and purchased everything for about $2 million. Everybody thought it was a crazy move, so much so that even the agent he called wasn't sure he knew what he was doing. He asked Clint repeatedly if he was sure he wanted that property, to which Clint refused to change his mind. Of course, everyone he told about the land after buying it told him he made a bad decision. Funny enough, the next thing he did was to take a playful jab at them by naming the land Malpaso, which means bad step in English. It seemed like while they kept telling him that building a home on that kind of land was too dangerous, it only made Clint bolder. He even doubled down by giving his new production company the same name as Malpaso Productions. With the home built less than 2 years after that, Clint moved in for a short while away from his family to plan his next movie. Now he wasn't just an actor waiting for an opportunity, but a boss coming up with unique ideas for future films. It was there came up with the plot for blockbuster films like Dirty Harry, released in 1971, and High Plains Drifter in 1973. Not wanting to drag his family into a rugged landscape, he only moved into the home whenever he needed time alone to come up with ideas for his upcoming movies. Those working with Clint said he often went to the ranch between shots whenever he felt burned out. There he would take time out to ride horses and walk through the trees. After that, he would return with much brighter ideas for reshoots and better guidelines for the actors. With the natural environment inspiring him, he developed the home into a production set for future movies before selling the ranch to Monterey County for $3 million. This way, he proved everyone wrong by turning a property nobody wanted into a money-printing hub that brought him success in Hollywood. Still, buying that ranch was a very wild move to most people, but the world was in for yet another surprise: the Rising River Ranch. Going back to 1978, just over a decade after buying the Malpaso Ranch, Clint Eastwood made yet another alarming decision. About a decade before this, he had proved everyone wrong by buying a property nobody liked and turning it into a movie production hub that made millions of dollars. Now, he was going to do it again, and this time, his plan wasn't just shocking, but brilliant. The property he wanted to buy belonged to a late actor and singer that Clint admired for a long time, whose name was Bing Crosby. Wanting to honor his role model's memory, Clint quickly bought the property in Shasta County for $1.9 million. This was a decision most of his friends and family didn't approve of, and the reasons were quite obvious. For one, the land was over 1,000 acres, making it difficult to keep. Secondly, the land was sold at a much cheaper price than the one for Malpaso. This was because the land was seen as a money pit, a property that would only keep taking money with no return. The cost of taking care of the land over a very short time was much more than the selling price. Simply put, it was a bad investment as far as everyone was concerned, but Clint had something much different in mind. While writing and directing movies at Malpaso was fun, the land area wasn't large and diverse enough for the bigger movies he had in mind. Better yet, the movies he wanted to create were the kind of movies Bing Crosby loved the most, and they required larger areas than Malpaso could afford. It had rolling hills, clear rivers, and endless skies, and could also serve as a more peaceful home for his family than the rugged plains of Malpaso. It was also during this time that Clint got his first Oscar nomination. Clint got to action immediately by producing and directing the movie Firefox, a spy thriller released in 1982, where he acted as a retired U.S. Air Force pilot infiltrating the Soviet Union. Even with the mixed reviews it got after release, the movie performed well and also starred the famous English actors Freddie Jones and David Huffman. After the relative success of that movie, Clint got to work on his next big project at the ranch called Pink Cadillac. The movie was released in 1989 as an action comedy where Clint played the role of a bounty hunter. Though the film didn't perform as well as Firefox and got no awards or nominations, it still brought him the fame and recognition he needed as a movie producer and director beyond his exceptional skills as an actor. Many actors like Freddie Jones and Bernadette Peters spoke well about Clint. They enjoyed their experience on the ranch and hoped to work with him again. As Clint grew older, the Rising River Ranch became a meeting hub for friends and family. There, he created memories and shared meals with new friends. While Malpaso ended up being a private sanctuary for Clint and a production hub for Hollywood, the Rising River Ranch created memories for his friends and loved ones. Interestingly enough, it became the driving motivation behind the next homes he built, Las Ondas and the Mission Ranch. In early 1981, Clint Eastwood made another shocking choice by moving to a quiet town on the California coast called Carmel by the Sea. What made it surprising was that it was the last place anyone would expect a Hollywood star to spend alone time. It was a very slow-paced area that was the exact opposite of the constant highs and excitement of Hollywood. What many didn't know was that Clint loved the arts and jazz music and the peace of being alone. Carmel had many charming cottages and artistic styles that showed the classic Spanish lifestyle in a way that touched his soul. Perhaps this was why Clint Eastwood later bought the $2.3 million home called Las Ondas without thinking too much about it. This was a Spanish revival home that was built in 1924 and covered almost 4,500 square feet in a spacious quarter-acre lot. But as insane as that was, this was where it got interesting. You see, after Clint moved to Carmel by the Sea and stayed for a few years to enjoy spare time at a cottage home, the problem was that each time he went for a walk outside, he always felt something wasn't right. According to Clint, there were too many strict rules that didn't make sense. For example, there was allegedly a law that stopped people from selling ice cream cones, and the property laws were so strict that buying the home he was now enjoying was quite difficult. Reports tell us it got so bad that Clint Eastwood got into a legal case with the city council over permission to build on the property he had already bought. Even though he won the case, he wanted to make more of a difference. This led to his famous last-second decision to run for mayor just hours before the chance was closed to go against the current mayor. Clint Eastwood spent about $40,000 on the campaign and promised during his public talks that he would make the town more welcoming and relaxed. Thanks to his fame in Hollywood and his heart of gold, many voters were on his side. Beyond that, the people also appreciated how he saved another historic property from getting changed into a condo. What made this home so special, and how was it so instrumental in helping him become a mayor? The answers are quite inspiring. For one, this other historic property was built much earlier in 1852 and was known as Mission Ranch. This was a very old dairy farm in Carmel that was 22 acres large. No one had renovated it since it was built, and it was starting to naturally crumble in on itself. Developers who had the money to buy the property were more interested in taking down the place and remodeling it into a condo so it would be profitable. The problem was that almost no one wanted it to happen, and those who wanted to restore the property didn't have the money required to stop it. This was where Clint Eastwood came in. Without thinking too much, he spent over $5 million to buy the property. Instead of tearing it down like others feared, he restored it to its former glory. To make it profitable for the dairy farm, he opened a boutique hotel and a restaurant within the Mission Ranch. With so many people on his side, Clint Eastwood won the election by a landslide and became the mayor of the town. He got to work immediately by changing the overly strict times of the town, wanting to be as close to the people as he could. He made Las Ondas his permanent home for most of his run from 1986 to 1988. News headlines told stories of the man who played outlaws on screen, now working to support and improve the city's legal system. Hacienda Este Madera. By 1994, Clint Eastwood bought another beautiful Spanish-style property that dropped jaws all over the industry. This time it was a special estate called the Hacienda Este Madera in Pebble Beach, California. This was another classic home that was built in 1928 with thick adobe walls, terracotta roof tiles, and beautifully carved wooden doors. The property covered almost 7,000 square feet and sat on 4.7 acres of land. It was a masterpiece of classic design, and with so many beautiful forms of art on the inside, it's no wonder Clint Eastwood bought the entire property at a whopping $3.9 million. It had an open-air cobblestone courtyard with a central fountain and high-beamed ceilings. Every once in a while, he hosted beautiful dinner parties with various artists, authors, and musicians he admired. However, all it took was a few years for the home to represent a final chapter in Clint's life. Not one to dwell too much on what he no longer enjoyed, Clint Eastwood got to work on his final big venture in the real estate world. You see, high above Carmel Valley, Clint thought about building a private community that would pan over 2,000 acres. This property wouldn't just be the final home for a fulfilled old man, but a universe of its own. He wanted to build a community, but on his terms. He often struggled to explain the idea to people. As to most, it sounded like he was building a theme park or tourist attraction without allowing anyone to come visit. But what he had in mind was a closed property where people could live in luxury at much cheaper prices. It was like a neighborhood surrounded by nature, but at an affordable price and with much better features than anything Malpaso offered way back. Clint's final home. Clint Eastwood got to work by early 1999 in building these special home sites with private golf courses and clubhouses. Among all the homes he bought and crafted into his image, Tehama was his pride and joy, a colorful masterpiece that came from years of blood, sweat, and tears. When the project was completed, one building was found at the heart of the project, and that was Clint's final home, an isolated estate surrounded by rolling hills and a breathtaking view of the Pacific Ocean. Of course, the other homes he had in the past had their uses, but none of them could compare to the comfort of his final home. While the Malpaso Ranch was his first special sanctuary, he always worried about how prone it was to fire and other hazards. The Rising River Ranch was great for filming and escape, but was too expensive to maintain and almost always too far away from most of his other work. His home during his time as mayor was peaceful and serene, but also felt a bit too public and felt more like an investment property he had to live in, rather than a full-blown home. But the Tehama home solved most of these issues and felt like the perfect closing chapter for his career, not just as an actor, but as a film producer, director, and real estate mogul. Even at 94, over 6 decades since Clint Eastwood started working full-time in the industry, this home is where he continues to live and work as a renowned actor and filmmaker, with his roles forever capturing the hearts and minds of those from his time and the generations after. How do you think these homes have reflected Clint's character and values? How has his career in real estate shown these values in recent years? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, click on the next video shown on your screen and you will enjoy it.